oil and gas, because as the prices go up, we cannot afford to index directly to the population the prices of oil and gas, as they are volatile. So we are already in a state of mind of subsidizing. Of course, incentives, subsidies, government support will be needed, but I fully agree, our gentleman that said about investing in the future, this is exactly the way to see it. And then the approach would be whether you're actually spending money or actually gaining money.
Making money, indeed. Kenya. Oh, there you are. Good to see you. Susan, can you just tell us, I mean, you're doing a lot of work as well in Kenya in terms of renewable energy. The CEO of KenGen, the Kenyan electricity generating company, has a lot to say about the potential of green energy.
Thank you very much. In fact, Kenya is gearing up to be the top green economy in Africa, where Kenya's current power sources are 63% from green resources. And actually you mentioned KenGen, which is the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, is looking at developing our geothermal. And Kenya has 10,000 megawatt potential. And we already have 2 KenGen projects that are already CDM. So Kenya has done a lot in terms of also enabling policy in terms of feed-in tariffs. And here we are really encouraging in terms of even solar. We've discussed quite a bit, but there's quite an outline of the kind of tariffs that will be given in the different areas. In addition to that, we also have a government policy where we want to establish solar heating in all housing in urban areas. So this goes to how do we encourage the involvement of communities. So in the urban areas, that is what we are encouraging. And also our new constitution, which was passed last year, in terms of rural communities and all, 10% of land. So if you own a certain acreage, must be covered by trees. So we are looking at revamping or reversing desertification or what have you, so that we can get more into generating in terms of small hydro or regular hydro. The third point is how do we manage FDI in terms of joint ventures in developing countries. In Kenya, just like others, we have 90% of companies in the SME sector. I'll give an example of what we've done. In December 2009, we took our SMEs, about 10 companies, to Paris on the EcoETEP Polytech exhibition. And these companies managed to get a lot of joint ventures. But what they came back to Kenya to do was so important that they themselves said they want to teach the others, because in Kenya, so many of the energy projects in the smaller communities are in community-based organizations. So we are in the process of also implementing community-based or businesses that will use green energy in their own respect. So again, sharing with each other, being frugal again in innovation in these aspects.
How much foreign investment do you have?
In Kenya, right now...
When it comes to the green project specifically.
When it comes to green project, I don't have that figure right now of exactly
so
how
really,
much.
I'm curious to see, are people investing in what you're doing? Or is it the government that's paying?
It's actually both ways. For instance, in geothermal, we have been doing the test drilling itself of the wells for geothermal, and then bringing in the investors to do the generation. We also have, and I'll be presenting on that this afternoon, the possibility of an investor where we do not have the money to test drill, then we'll have an arrangement where the investor can actually come with all the funding, and then we negotiate a certain power purchase agreement. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a question to any of the panelists?
I would like to ask if you have an example of how you can really encourage this joint venture with the communities, especially when it comes to SMEs. because we are not just talking urban, we are also talking rural. I say this because in Kenya, we have now devolved with the new constitution where we have 47 counties, and so we want to decentralize because Nairobi has 50% of the GDP. Mombasa, our coastal town, has 20% of the GDP, but we have 45 new growth centers. We have 3/4 of Kenya in the arid area where the possibilities of wind and solar is great. So I'd like to hear maybe some examples on that. Thank you.
Any examples for Camis?
Sure. I can give you the example of what we're doing at 2 different scales. One is a commune called Vidon-sur-Verdon in southeastern France. It's the first place where we installed a solar park, 4 megawatt solar park, which provides electricity for the 4,000 people in the community. We've also built rooftop installations on farm buildings and as well on residential rooftops. So now that we've built with this commune the so-called self-sufficiency, they also have hydropower on their land, but we've gone much beyond that. We've teamed with installation companies in the town so we've given work to them and we've established, we've helped them develop especially their rooftop installation business. And now we're moving into a much more ambitious scheme. We've worked as well with schools. Children have been very strongly involved in the development of these projects, and there's a very strong educational part of it. The installations are being visited on a regular basis, several times daily, by the way. And we're now moving into a very comprehensive program, which is called Vinon Planet 2020, whereby we're combining smart buildings, energy efficiency, and clean transportation at the level of that commune. We're also developing, and this is another scale, a region in the western part of France, which is called Poitou-Charentes. We're help them establish a regional solar company. And that regional solar company, and it was voted unanimously just 2 months ago by the regional assembly, will invest in solar projects, will give guarantees, and will provide also, will encourage off-taker, will encourage consumers, especially the railways, there are regional railways, which will buy electricity, solar electricity, from domestically produced electricity. So it's a combination of community action as well as working with NGOs. I didn't mention NGOs. We've also put together programs with farming NGOs so that you have really a global, a whole, in French we call that territoire, the community involvement, which translates into action for every single person, and not only on a business standpoint, but as well for individuals and children. And children are especially a very important part of that.
Okay, and Ajay, do you have any story to share?
I think one of the things what can be added to what he said is that on the community level, on the village level, we can start a small solar power plants maybe, and maybe hybrid it with the wind also, and that could generate electricity for that region, for that area. It could be a village with 100 houses, it could be a village with 50 houses, it could be a village with 1,000 houses. And though people in the village get involved into maintaining, running of that power plant, and then they enjoy the electricity from it. And that would be something that could be done on the local level without involving large grid coming from wherever the power generating houses are. That could be done and this kind of a scheme is being done in India and very successfully, and in those villages where there is no grid connectivity. So the government comes out and installs power, and leaves it to the village people to maintain it, run it and operate it, and then it's quite successful because they have to use the electricity to maintain it properly also.
Okay. Do you have any stories?
Just very quickly, I think there are parts of Scotland, particularly in the north of Scotland, where the economy is very fragile, it's very rural, and the important thing for us is about creating jobs in those communities through some of the larger energy companies that we have. So I was up in Stornoway, which is way up on the western side of Scotland, last week, talking to a company called Bifab. They have a factory there which make the jackets for the wind turbine industry. They employ 300 people there. It's a very important part of that local economy, And they also work with local suppliers. So they have the supply chain for the Western Isles, and they use local companies to help feed in the parts that they need to put the jackets together. So, you know, that's an example which is, it is about communities, but through providing jobs and making sure that the jobs are sustainable in those communities as well.
Thank you very much. I think we'll
And
be talking after this.
I'm sure you will be. Now, Mauritius,
If
please.
if I'd just like to add onto that, the very important thing, and I'd like to rebound on what our Moroccan friend said, if you're developing an infrastructure development business, you're creating a market. And if you're creating a market which is significant enough, and then this is exactly what we're doing with the Poitou-Charentes region. The regional involvement has one very single objective, that is to create manufacturing jobs. And one of the commitments that we have is, provided we have the volumes in that region, we will build what we already have in other parts of the world, a manufacturing plant. That is the perfect loop between infrastructures that create markets. At the same time, imports from China are fine if you can produce locally products, if you can develop local technologies. There again, in combination with other suppliers. The idea is not just to be a pure isolated part in the world, but if you look at what the so-called local content approach, then it's a step change, and you're generating lasting jobs, lasting companies, lasting economic growth, and pride as well in these communities. And what we felt, this is what we had this unanimous vote at the regional assembly, is that it's so important for that region to generate manufacturing jobs while they're losing tons of manufacturing jobs, especially in the car industry, that they're saying, okay, we can use our purchasing power, which is buying power through solar, and create jobs in our neighborhood or not far away from us. So it's not only energy, it's also community development and economic development.
It's the joined-up thinking that goes with getting everybody to be part of it. So, Mauritius, please. Are you on? You're on.